Okay, so we're looking at the difference between atoms, molecules, mixtures, and compounds and elements here. Let's first of all look at the difference. We can see we've got pictures of elements, pictures of mixtures, pictures of compounds. An element is made out of only one kind of atom, and all of these elements can be found in a periodic table. If it's not in a periodic table, it is not an element. So you won't find salt in a periodic table, you won't find water in a periodic table, and so on. Here's some examples of elements, and you can see here these two pictures. One type of atom, one type of atom. Now, it doesn't mean, if looking briefly at what atoms and molecules are more than one atom that are bonded. Sorry, atoms are just single things, and molecules are groups of atoms that are bonded together. But this is still an element because it's only one type of atom. The key is type or kind. So that's an element. Mixture. A mixture is made out of more than one substance, and this substance could be an element, could be another mixture. Well, a mixture of a mixture, but it could be an element, it could be a compound. So, and the point is they're not joined together, they're not bonded together with chemical bonds. So it could be a mixture of compounds, could be a mixture of elements, or it could be a mixture of an elements and compounds. As you can see here, these are just atoms, but two different elements, but these ones are molecules, and these are separate atoms. These are two different elements again, and this is compounds and elements. Then we got compounds. Now, compounds are pure substances, but so you could have, for example, we all know you can have pure water, but water is made out of hydrogen and oxygen. That's why it has the formula H2O. The point is, it's made out of more than one kind of atom bonded together. So an element is just a little group of atoms that are bonded together, but they don't have to be the same kind, or they could be the same kind. It doesn't make any difference. They're still it's still a group of atoms, still a molecule. A compound is a collection of, not necessarily molecules actually, but to simplify things, let's just say they're molecules for now. And they are bonded together, and it's more than one kind and more than one type of atom. Okay, you can usually work out what elements are in the compound by its name, for carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, and so on. And there are different rules you can learn to work out what's in it. So, for example, if sulfate, if it's like carbon, I can't think of it. Copper sulfate. It's got copper in it. It's got sulfur in it. But the ATE means it's sulfur. It's got sulfur and oxygen in it. Here's some examples. Two that go against my rule. Water doesn't. You can't tell what's in it, but it's H2O, hydrogen and oxygen. Salt. The most common salts that we know of, sodium chloride. And now you can tell what's in it. It's sodium and chlorine, and carbon dioxide you can tell as well. So the point is they're more than one kind, and they're bonded together. Okay, and then atoms themselves are made out of things as well. Atom came from a Greek word atomos, which means indivisible. So the Greeks had this theory that you couldn't divide. And that matter stuff is made out of these indivisible particles known as atoms, and it's just a theory of theirs. They turned out to be close to correct. They are made out of things that we now also call atoms, but exactly, yeah. So but what they didn't get right was what they didn't get right was that atoms can be divided further, and atoms are made out of protons, neutrons, and electrons. So here's a picture of an atom. When you look closely at it, you can see it's actually made out of electrons, protons, and neutrons. The number of protons is what determines what atom it is. This particular atom is a carbon atom because it's got 6 protons in it. All carbon atoms have 6 protons in them. That is what makes them carbon. So quickly then, what is about separating? Can you separate an atom? Greeks thought you couldn't. They said atomos means indivisible. Although, to be fair, we stole that word and said applied to something which it turns out you can divide. But maybe that's made out of something that should actually be called atoms. We're going to look at next about whether or not we can split an atom and what it means.